Hello viewer, hope the day is treating you right. Welcome back to another episode of watching Aram get kicked in the nuts by forces outside of his control. Really, the frequency and consistency that this poor guy gets beaten down is beginning to feel a bit more than just narrative convention. It feels downright malicious at times. Last time we finally got most of the flashback of that fateful day that caused Kanari his injury. And it turns out that they were just teenagers being stupid, climbing on the rooftops. And Prava accidentally let go of Kanari's hand, and so he plummeted down. So yeah, I can understand how that incident would lead to her developing that sort of attachment to him. We still don't know what happened to her fingers. My guess is that she herself cut them off in penance. Maybe we will see. And Aram finally managed to make the lever, and he was just about to go down into the well and see where the elevator takes him. And then he was told that the kiln got on fire and he had to go help. And that turns out to have been a prank by Kanari gone wrong. And of course, being the hated bastard that he was, everyone instantly turned on him. And now Aram is kinda stuck between protecting his friend and doing his duty as a wound bearer. And that is exactly where we left off last time. So let's see what's gonna happen today. She'd been sitting as the sun went down. Okay, are we back to Prava here? Sitting and listening. Kept outside in the hallway. They didn't know what to do with the girl. Oh, are we actually going to Sachi? That would be interesting. They would deal with her in time. So they left her. To watch and listen. The boy, has he survived? Adults with nervous expressions ran to and fro about the hall. Oh, okay, so looks like a Prava flashback, right after the fall. I imagine she was a bit catatonic, so they just left her in place. Okay. Carrying vases of steaming water, bandages, antiseptics. All of these things she recognized. Yes. Yes, they say he's breathing. But his body... As nurses hurried past her, carrying bundles of cloth in their arms, and they saw the pale girl sitting anxiously in the hall, their faces twisted into scorn. Disgust. His leg. The bone was shattered, they say. It won't heal. Ever. Voices swirled all around. To the girl they were deafening. She had tried covering her ears, but she could only block them out for so long. Do you mean he'll never walk again? No, not without assistance. So the girl forced herself to listen. She needed to hear it. At last, darkness overtook the hospice. The girl slept there in the hallway, on the stone of the floor. Of course, she slept little. For hours she lay awake, the many things she'd overheard playing on repeat in her mind. It's ruined, she thought. I've ruined it all. Everything I had. She could hear her own voice mixing with the others. It whispered in her ear, reminding her of the many sharpened stones that lay in wait for her, hidden in her special place. They were there, ready for her to atone. But for a sin like this, how could they possibly be enough? What was the boy's obligation? She recalled one conversation that had stuck with her more than the others. Wound-bearing. Yes, I know. No more. Not with a leg like that. He'll be forced to break his obligation. It had been that thought that forced her to her feet. With so much of the staff focused on Canary, it had been difficult to find anyone who might know. But at last, she'd stopped the surgeon in the hallway, pulling on his minache. He gave her a sidelong glance, scowling. What is it, girl? She needed to know. Desperately. Please, she begged. Which obligation? Where are they putting him? Irritated, he gripped her wrist tightly and pulled her arm off. Let go of me. I have very little time. He's in terrible shape, don't you know? You did this, after all. The girl was speechless, lowering her head. The surgeon let out a sharp breath, turning and continuing to walk. But she managed to call out once more. Please, I need to know. The surgeon shook his head and spoke without turning to look back at her. The Eshan are considering pottery. He won't need his legs for that. She'd found a knife, right where she'd left it. She kept it hidden well, alongside her sharpened stones and shards of brick. They were all together in one of the many seldom-used storage rooms. The place she went to punish herself, when no one was looking. She'd run from the hospice and gone straight there, unsure where else she might go. Yet, somehow she couldn't bring herself to do it. It wasn't enough. So she found herself pacing an empty classroom, knife in hand. The sun hadn't yet risen, and the room was blanketed in shadow. When she closed her eyes and thought only of him, she saw him falling. He's crippled. Forever. His obligation. He'll be forced to break it. To do something else. When she thought about what she'd done, she couldn't breathe. The guilt was overwhelming. The girl had been keeping herself distracted, but now that she was alone again, it was suffocating her. I need to do something, she thought. I have to pay. To suffer. The girl held her hands out in front of her, dimly illuminated by a moonbeam from the window. Oh yeah, looks like she is gonna do it. They were so pale. She stared at them, thinking only of how they'd let him fall. These hands that have so diligently learned to stitch wounds and set bones, they are the tools that I use to perform my obligation. Just like his legs were. The girl held a knife to the fingers of her dominant hand. And as she stared down her outstretched arms, a thought stalked across her mind. A thought that made her heart pound. What would happen if they were ruined? If my hands were mangled or broken so badly that I could never stitch right again, then would I be forced to change my obligation? Just like him? Oh, that's gnarly. Ah. The rain came down. patted the many roofs of the darkened homes lining the street. Water ran in streams along the curb, ending in puddles that filled the gaps in the brick. That two-story home facing the street, the one with the chip in the doorframe. The girl stood before it, in the rain. For the first time since leaving for general education, the girl stood before it. She'd been sent back. Oh, is this her old home? Sent away. They'd been horrified, seeing what she'd done. So they gave her up. Perhaps out of pity. And sent her to the only place she had left. The girl felt her cheek. The punishment for harming one's own body. The precious gift from God, of which each of us had only one. It was severe. She stepped through the doorway, her heart pounding. When was the last time they'd spoken? Yep, she's definitely going home. Canary's words echoed through her mind. Your mom, she loves you, right? Oh, that's gonna hurt her even more. I imagine she's gonna get disowned. She would love you, even if you weren't cut out to be a nurse. Even if they deemed you unfit. Yes, the warm memories of her mother flooded back. Holding her tight, spinning her around, laughing. She'll understand. She'll understand because she loves me. Oh, poor girl. You will really have absolutely nothing left in your life, huh? Her mother sat at a table across a dark room. Her hands were folded neatly in her lap. Ah, so they already told her, I assume. The girl stood at the threshold of the door, unable to see her face. Water dripped from her hair to the floor, and she smiled. Mommy, it's me. I'm back. After a long moment, her mother spoke. Why? Why would you come here? Her voice was distant, cold. How could you even consider coming back here? The girl's words caught in her throat. What? She squeaked out. Her mother slammed her hand against the wooden table. The sound made the girl jump. Oh, I know everything. What you've done to yourself. Her tone grew in volume. The girl stood speechless. I only ever wanted one thing from you. Just one. You couldn't even do that. Her mother aggressively came to her feet, loudly knocking several bowls from the table. They shattered. You fucking worthless girl. Yikes. Now she was screaming. The girl took a step back, shaking. Mommy, what are you? She said, on the verge of tears. I give you everything, her mother spat. Everything. Except the things that a mother should give. Please, the girl shouted, sobbing through her words. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Tears streamed down her bruised cheeks. Outside, the wind howled. And all the while, her mother screamed, ignoring her pleading. Obscenities. Threats. I love you, the girl cried. Please, Let me stay. Mommy, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But her words were washed away with the rain. Get out, her mother screamed. Get out. Get out now. And then there was a rush of air. So it was that the girl's final memory of her mother and her childhood home was being struck with a leather-bound book aimed at her head. Oh, Canary. He lay perfectly still in the hospice bed, eyes closed. The girl stood over him, watching him sleep. That boy, lying broken in the bed. The girl knew, standing there, he was all she had left. All she had in the entire world. For him, she would do anything. She had to repay the debt she owed him, to atone for her sins. If it was for Canary, yes, she would follow him to the end of the world. You know the thing that hits even harder after all this? It was kinda obvious that Bravo has been shouldering this burden for this entire time. But every time we are in Canary's head and we see what he thinks and how he feels, I don't know if he's actively choosing to, or it's just his nature, but he never actually remembers any of this. And most importantly, never once, not even in his own mind, has he ever actively blamed Brava for all of this. And I think that speaks volumes of his character. Like even in the earlier flashbacks that Brava had of him, she started admiring him because he was so carefree, sort of living in the moment. And I think that is the quality that is actually keeping Canary together. Real interesting. Canary was held at the temple overnight and through the following day. A select few apprentice potters were brought to give their testimony. But neither Brava nor myself were permitted to see him. Okay, we're back to present days, Orem. Okay. Of course he wasn't held for long. Not only had he confessed to the Killmaster that night, but again before the Ashan at the temple. I was told he confessed almost immediately and said nothing in his own defense. In the end, Canary was found solely responsible for the fire and punished. His actions had cost the settlement dearly, but ultimately it had been an accident. Therefore, Canary was beaten. Beaten and then sent home. For the 2 days that he had been held, my stomach was in knots. I felt sick thinking about what I had done. What I'd been forced to do. They actually made you beat him. Oh boy. Life really is kicking Orem in the nuts, huh? But I'd been naive, thinking things would be better when he finally came home. No. The misery of those 2 days was nothing compared to what followed. Yeah, how do you get back from that? The familiar shouting woke me. Con, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Her desperate voice came from the street where she stood. Every morning it was the same. She came and stood outside our home, calling for him, apologizing over and over. And since she's creating a public spectacle, of course Canary's not going to want to go out, not even to tell her off. It just keeps getting worse. Begging him to talk. Won't you come down? Oh, please, Khan. Can you come down and talk to me? There was never a reply. Okay, at this point, what really stops you from going in the house? Especially if you know that Orem is also here. You could just pretend that you want to talk to him. I guess she's feeling too guilty, on top of everything, to even think of that. Watching her stand there, it was painful. I stepped into the hallway between our rooms, looking for Kanari. He was sitting back against the wall under a window, listening. Simply listening and keeping himself out of sight. His bruised face was strained, eyes cast aimlessly forward. But there was simply no talking to Kanari. None. At even the mention of her name, he would go quiet. And that was the end of the conversation. Yeah, he kinda laid out all his cards, then and there. Told Brava exactly what he thought of her. And still, that's not enough. Many journeyman wound bearers had been diverted to help clear the debris left by the kiln. I was among them. Oh yeah, that reminds me. Back during the fire, every single wound bearer was told to abandon their post and go help. So, was there maybe, at least, someone guarding the well? Because it took like a couple hours to put the fire out, and now they're clearing the debris. I don't think it's such a good idea to keep the entrance to the well unprotected. I don't know. Either the Ashan know something that we still don't, or they are actually more incompetent than we think. Taken off of my shift, overseeing racial lines to assist with the cleanup instead. Well, at least you got that going for you. A little less weight on your conscience. Each morning as I left for my duties, I would pass her by. Often she was sitting on the curb or leaning up against our doorway, eyes glazed over. She never acknowledged me. For my sake, there was that at least. For those first few days, she was so focused on Kanari. It seemed she had entirely forgotten about our arrangement. Somehow, I'd managed to come out from under her grasp. I wouldn't drink to that, my guy. She is just the right amount of desperate that she might try something with you. Be on your guard still. At first, she came only in the mornings. And when it was clear Kanari wouldn't see her, she left. But as the days went on with no answer, not a single word, she spent longer and longer just waiting for him to come outside. Hours. It became clear she was skipping out on any responsibilities she had at the new makeshift kiln. Kanari often stayed home as well, if just to avoid her. It hadn't gone unnoticed. On the island, the punishment for refusing to work was forfeiting your right to meals. Oh, these poor children. They're just digging their own graves at this point. Even as meager as they were now. How long had it been since she'd eaten? As I watched her from the window, I noticed just how frail she'd become. Yeah, And by this point Orem already convinced himself that there is absolutely nothing he can do, aside from what he's trying with the well. But still, having to watch this every single day, that can't be good for his mental health. I stopped, letting Sachita walk ahead of me to where Prava was sitting on the sidewalk. Or alternatively, you can do that. Bring your one other friend to maybe salvage this. She stopped short, and I watched Sachita kneel and put her hand on Prava's cheek. I saw Sachita's lips move, speaking to her. It was unclear if Prava said anything at all in response. They stayed that way for a long while. But eventually, Sachita stood and turned to look at me. She shook her head sadly. I just want her to come home and sleep. She hasn't been sleeping, Orem. Sachita leaned against the temple stairway. She seemed exhausted herself, the lines of her face creased with worry. It's so cruel. Sachita tapped her fist against the wall behind herself. He really won't talk to you about it. Not at all. I hesitated, but shook my head. No, I said slowly. I thought of my stated attempts to broach the topic with Kanari. God above, if only I had an ounce of her sensitivity. If I could deal with others. Sachita looked at me for a long moment and then dropped her eyes. I'm sure you've done all you can, she said quietly. Yeah, you might be right. The problem here is that Orem convinced himself that he cannot do anything. Come to think of it, that's pretty much a mirror for Kanari. Interesting. She needs help. We need to tell your parents, Orem. The High Priestess, she'll find a way to get her the help she needs. She's not well. Sachita put her head in her hands. Yeah, it really shows the general attitude of the people towards their young. That they just let them waste away like this. Like, why wouldn't you? Like, why wouldn't anyone try to intervene here? Why do you have to specifically go to a High Priestess for it? I don't know. It feels really weird and unnatural that these people would just be left behind. I don't know. I've done all that I can. Yes, I've... No, don't try to lie to yourself. You could have done more. You just didn't. Retroactively changing things isn't going to help you justify any of this. It was evening. I was coming home from my daytime duties to get some rest. Stepping through my doorway, I felt a hand grasp my ankle, and I faltered. I looked down at my feet and saw her. Yeah, she looks really terrible. Prava had tried to grab my leg and pull me back. Orem, she moaned. I froze. This was the first time she'd acknowledged me in days. Prava? The sight of her lying on the sidewalk. Up close, it was almost too much to bear. Her clothes and face were filthy, covered in dust. Her hair was in tangles all around her head, and her skin was pale. Quietly, tears rolled down her cheeks as she stared at me. Please, won't you Ask him. She coughed violently. Ask him to talk to me. I thought of Canary, sitting inside, sitting and listening to this excruciating display. My distress melted away, replaced suddenly by anger like I'd never felt before. Uh-oh, what's he gonna do? I felt my blood boil. Why? She sobbed. Why won't he talk to me? I said I was sorry. Seconds later, I was marching through the door. I knocked a small ceramic vase to the floor as I raced up the stairs, fury blinding me. Okay, are you going to take Canary and bodily drag him out of there? I came to the top and stormed to where Canary sat at his desk. As he turned to me in surprise, I grabbed Canary by the hem of his shirt and pulled him to his feet. He stumbled, unable to stand properly, grunting in surprise. Putting my other hand on his shoulder, I shoved him into a nearby wall, pinning him there with my elbow and forearm. The motion was far more violent than I had intended, and it seemed I knocked the wind out of him, sending him into a coughing and gasping fit. When he regained his breath, he flashed me a strange smile. You've become quite a brute, haven't you, RM? Those hours at the ration line have been getting to your head. I didn't at all know what I wanted to say, but I needed to say something to understand how he could even sleep, knowing she was out there. What's the matter with you? I spat. She's out there every damn day, starving herself, going without sleep. Canary's smile faded instantly. How can you possibly make her suffer like this? He didn't say anything for a moment. I applied more pressure to his chest. He grunted in pain. It's time she learned this lesson, he said hoarsely. He grit his teeth. I'm not. And finally, his demeanor broke. I'm not a good person, RM, he said, his voice shaking. I'm not a good friend, or some kind of role model. I'm worthless. And so is she, so you should be thinking of each other at exactly the same way. I felt my grip loosen. Is this really Canary? What am I doing? This, I stammered out. This isn't like you. I closed my eyes, trying to clear my swirling head. But when I opened them again, the person I had against the wall was completely unrecognizable. I almost choked. My grip faltered, and Canary, without his cane, fell loudly to the ground. I took a few terrified steps backward. What is this? Who is this person? My heart pounded in my chest, and I felt that I needed to leave. Immediately. So I turned. Okay. Not really sure what's happening here. Sounds kinda like a panic attack. But the same thing kinda happened with Prava when she blackmailed him. Somehow he's just rejecting the other side of his friends that they haven't shown him before. Interesting. And ran. Ran down the stairs, out the door, and down the street. Well, you see, if it was me, I would have just dragged Canary downstairs and then went outside, picked Brava up and put her into the house as well. And then they would be forced to at least acknowledge each other. I don't know, maybe that would have been a bit too drastic. But I feel like trying to gently solve this problem is no longer going to cut it. And we do know by this point that RMF is incapable of solving this, so he's not even going to try. My current guess here is that he's going to run into the well, or at least to the entrance. We'll see. What's the matter with you? Tala sat against the wall as he usually did, watching me frantically pack my belongings. Yep, he's going down. Possibly not even going to come back up until he finds what he's looking for. I didn't respond. You're doing it tonight? Pulling the handmade lever from under my Minash, I turned it over several times in my hand and placed it firmly into my bag. My wound kit, water pouch, and the reading device quickly followed. Yes, I said finally. I've waited too long already. I'm sick and tired of watching this famine tear us apart, Tala. He seemed uneasy. Do you really think, Tala began, if you get it working, you'll find all of those people? You'll find out where they went? Already I was standing, facing towards the stairway down. Yes, I do. I'm going to finish this. I began to descend, and I'm not coming back to the settlement until I do. The next time you see me, I'll need your help to explain it to Deshawn, to everyone. I didn't bother waiting for a reply, and so I began my long descent downwards into the well, knowing that it had to be my last. Well, considering that we still have 2 more chapters unreleased, I say that's gonna be a lie. Unless something else happens. Okay, we're immediately back here, giving us an opportunity to save. You know what? I'm actually going to take that opportunity. And I don't even know what's going to happen here. Maybe it would be a good idea to go and grind a little bit, but I don't know. If this really is the last time we are here, at least on this chapter, then maybe we are good the way we are right now. Not sure, but I'm going to leave it here nonetheless, because whatever is going to happen feels like it's going to have world-shattering revelations. If the elevator works at all. Yeah, imagine the next episode getting cut short, because he tries the lever and it just doesn't work. Oh, that would be quite something. But anyway, thank you for watching. If you like this story, which I really hope you do, then please give the video a like. If you are new here, check around my channel. Maybe I have something else that is to your liking. And as always, I hope to see you in the next one. But until then, take care of yourself, and have as good a day as you can make it. Goodbye.